Like anything on the internet, the child-free choice has become a movement. It has been co-opted and turned into a trend. I wanted to just go online and find out the major reasons that people are choosing not to have children, and at the same time understand with empathy and also be able to see where the facts have been distorted and where myths are being propagated, just to be able to dispel them. One thing I will say is, before you decide whether you will have children or not, please do not make that decision out of a trend online. It is peer pressure to have children just because everyone is having children. That is how most Hollywood celebrities are ending up being baby mamas with boyfriends, and just it's a mess. On the other hand, it is also very tragic to decide not to have children because it was a trend online that will pass and then your life will continue. So for that reason, I went online, I looked at the 7 major reasons why people are choosing not to be child free, and I will just give my unsolicited opinion about it. The first one is that the world is a horrible place and it is kindness not to have a child, because you are reducing overpopulation and it is good for the environment if we reduce the number of human beings. People who talk about how horrible the world is most of the time are living in the affluent West. Talking about how the world is a horrible place, talking about overpopulation and crisis and whatnot. The truth is that in most of the affluent world, in the West at least, the problem is not overpopulation. They are facing a crisis of population decline. So if you're trying to save the world and save humanity, the answer is not by not having children. The answer is probably by having children in a family, which we will get to. Financial reasons, the expense of taking care of child and children. If you are unable to actually financially take care of children, I understand. However, I feel like if this is the only reason why you are not having children, it is one thing to have an obstacle and be defeated by it. It is another to see an obstacle and want to overcome it. So if you're a young person who actually wants to have children but is afraid of the financial responsibility, there are 2 ways you can go about it. Number one, realize that it doesn't take that much actually to have children. All these expensive and just insane things that are being required of you are just trends. You really don't need much of these things in order to have children. The other thing is that you are able to actually increase your income. You can reduce your spending, increase your income. If you're 25 or 23 and you say you don't want to have kids because of the cost of living, you still have at least the next 20 years. When you see an obstacle to something that you want, you get it, you overcome it. In this day and age, by the time you have a smartphone from which you're watching this YouTube video, I know you have the ability and capacity to make much more money than you actually think. Yeah. The other thing is happiness. Some people are choosing not to have children because they think that children will be a bother, that children will hinder them from traveling, hobbies, and their career. And I totally understand that. Choosing not to have children so that you can live your best life now. My only caution with this lifestyle is that when it comes to happiness, countless studies have shown that the highest indicator for happiness is not how much money you make, how often you travel, your career. The largest indicator for happiness in our society across the globe is the quality and longevity of the relationships that you have. The advantage of having children is not just that you will sacrifice for them, but that sacrifice that you make for them will give you joy. If parenting is done right, you will be very happy and you will make your children very happy. You do not need to be a perfect person to be a good parent. You can overcome your trauma, you can grow, you can heal, and actually be a good parent. None of us needed perfect parents. We only needed half decent parents, and you can be that. I assure you, you will not be happy by making more money, traveling all over the world, or having more hobbies, or working in your career. The truth is that life has shown time and time again that people who pursue these things in the long term, they do end up miserable. Sometimes it's not even a matter of that they end up miserable, they are miserable. So the longevity and the quality of your relationships. This does not mean that if you cannot have kids or if you do not have kids, you're going to be miserable. It just means that you need to tap into other relationships that can be long and that can be lifelong relationships, that can be quality, wholesome relationships. The other thing is about some people have just flat out said they cannot and do not want to have children because they are selfish. Oh, I have issue with this one. By the time you realize that you are selfish, it is an opportunity to change. Selfishness is not a virtue. It is not something that you carry as a badge of honor. It is something to work on. I'm not saying have kids. I'm just saying get over being selfish. Work on being selfless. And if by the time you're selfless, you still don't want kids, that's great. The other thing is, and this I think is the most meritorious of all of them, is people who have simply never wanted to have kids. I know that if you feel zero maternal care and you just do not want to have kids, it's better not to have them. The other thing is that they are single. And I understand. One thing I will say is that personally, my own opinion is that the only people who should be having biological children are people from monogamous and healthy marriages. The only people who should have kids are the people who are in a traditional family, a mother, a father, because countless studies have shown, let us stop trying to cheat science. And even without science, just common sense, the happy and healthy kids come from happy and healthy families with a mother and a father, not two daddies, not two mummies, a mother and a father. If you're single and you want to have kids, I feel like single people can and should have children if they want to, by adoption, by fostering. Better to have one parent than none at all. Widows and all these other single people can have kids. However, they have to go out of their way to provide their children with, if it's a man, with mother figures, if it's a woman, with father figures who are involved in their lives, who love them and take care of them and meet with them regularly to make up for the lack of the other parent. I was talking about monogamous, healthy marriage relationships. People should not have children with their baby daddies, with their partners, with any type of other person. Again, going back to the whole issue of studies, I will link down all these studies in the description box. The happiest people come from two-parent families where the parents are married, not cohabiting. Children need security and they feel secure when their parents are married. And children need a father and a mother. If you cannot provide that, do not have kids. Anyway, see you next week. Bye.